Okay, so it seems like recently there's been a little bit of news going on with Chibi Doki. Now, this has been a pretty surprising one, as usually Chibi just kind of gets on with her kind of, stuff and does some fun, cool things in games and whatever you want to call it, right? But it seems like recently she's been speaking out about some issues over on Twitch, and a lot of it pertaining to one particular incident which we've covered on this channel already, being the ExtraEmily incident. Now, if you guys don't remember, essentially she was distracted while driving, looking at her chat, as you guys can see here, and you can see right in this screenshot there is a car right behind her which she's about to pull out in front of and narrowly avoid getting into a car crash with them, and potentially even worse, right? So again, obviously that was just absolutely crazy, and Twitch ended up banning her because, she was looking at chat. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be focusing on driving. Now, many thought that this should be a permanent ban, and I think it should be a permanent ban because, again, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be looking at your chat, especially whenever this isn't the first time that this has happened, like distracted driving. She's ran red lights before. It's not a new thing, right? It should get to the point where she's putting so many people in danger that she should be removed off the platform to stop this from happening continuously, because all of the incidents have been related to streaming, right? She's distracted by streaming. So you take away the streaming element and hopefully maybe she could drive a little bit better, right? Essentially, many people have been calling out for her to be permanently banned, but she was only banned for about a day, which was absolutely crazy for something that could have been absolutely horrible. And recently, Chibi Doki has been discussing it in this clip from Slicer Chibi, so definitely go and follow them. Good clipper. And let's take a look and we'll talk about it.
If you're streaming and driving, you should be permanently banned because it's insane. That's so dangerous. So dangerous. And it's not personal. I don't care if you're a man or woman. I don't care if you're an IRL streamer. I don't care anything. I already don't like IRL streaming because I have kind of a controversial opinion where it's like, if you're recording people in public, I understand it's legal. I still think it's very rude. Even at TwitchCon, I understand it's a Twitch convention where it's live streamers. I still think it's very disrespectful because there's kids, there's people maybe who have stalkers because there's a lot of streamers and they can find people, all this stuff. And also just people don't want to be on camera. I really don't like it. It's a personal opinion.
I think that's fair enough. I think there is like this element of, lots of people getting recorded in IRL streaming. I don't necessarily like IRL streaming too much either. I think there is aspects that are good. For example, like the recent World Cup stuff. Have you guys seen that with like Speed and whatever? He's definitely been doing a lot of good stuff with IRL. But yeah, I can understand the point coming from like you're recording random people. The one at TwitchCon, I feel like TwitchCon's fine to IRL stream at, right? You're kind of going there with the premonition of, hey, there's going to be a lot of people recording and stuff like this, right? So again, I think TwitchCon is fine because like the whole event is kind of like that. But yeah, in like public and in person where people don't really have don't have a choice and all of that kind of stuff, it is definitely a bit odd, right?
I feel like there should be streaming areas and then no streaming anywhere else. And that's how I feel. It's just my opinion. It's okay if people disagree. That's totally fine. But like whenever I went to like, I just think it's very weird. I don't know. I understand like the content is awesome, but what about the rest of the world, But like, no, I feel like if you want to stream while driving, get an Uber, sit in the front seat. Have your friend drive and have a little podcast and talk and laugh together, Like, if you're actively driving and you can see your eyes looking at the chat while you're driving, by the way, a weapon, a car is a weapon. It is scary to me. This is why I'm too scared to drive. I know like I'm such like an exaggerator, but I'm too scared to drive because I'm so scared of people who just don't take it seriously. Like I get so freaking scared. I will also have really bad ADD and I get lost in my own head and like it really scares me. I get so scared of people on the road. But yeah, like I genuinely feel like that's totally messed up. Yeah, road rage is crazy, I know. But yeah, I mean Twitch is really weird with TLS. I mean, I love being a streamer, but nothing can be perfect. You still don't drive? Yeah, I don't drive. I'm too scared. I know it's silly, but I get really scared of driving. I drove once in a parking lot and it really scared me, so I need to learn for emergencies. My mom and my dad are gonna teach me, but I get so freaking scared. Because I just don't trust people and I don't trust myself and I get scared. And then no, it's overreacting. But I really
Holy Jesus Christ, that was an ending. So yeah, essentially it is one of these cases where she's saying like, hey, you shouldn't be distracting your driver. There should be other, means to go about and get around rather than having to stream looking at your chat and driving, right? And I think it's even one of these cases where, you know, I don't think it should be bad to you know, drive yourself whenever you're streaming, right? I think that that's fine as long as you're not interacting with the chat. Literally put the phone down on the dashboard, you know, or whatever, and just leave it there and don't look at it, right? You know, that's it. Now keep your eyes on the road and do what you're doing like you're normally driving, and then obviously once you're done, and you know, even if you're like a stoplight, I wouldn't, right? Because again, I think it's still bad, right? But like once you've actually come to a stop, you parked and whatever, then pick up your phone, start IRL streaming again, right? But obviously, Chibi has like a much more, I guess, you know, harsher approach, I guess, with IRL streaming in general. She doesn't like it in general either, which I think is understandable, right? I think there's a lot of weird people out there who, you know, like to stalk people. We've had many incidents of obviously stream snipers and stuff with IRL streams, but we've also had many incidents of, you know, women getting tracked down and whatever. For example, with the whole Ginny thing that happened. If you guys don't remember, Ginny went through Poland. I think she was like cycling through Poland, I think it was, and she was very obvious about where she was. She was showing her map on her like arm, like she was like looking up the map to find like where the next city or town or whatever was, for like a hotel. She obviously streamed herself going into the hotel, and then some guy showed up at the hotel and was banging on the door and everything like that, which of course, yeah, it was a weirdo, right? And that can be a big issue. Now, I think that is a more so problem with Ginny and getting the right protection that she needs. I don't think she understands that, you know, she's quite vulnerable to this kind of stuff. Obviously, you know, being you know, a woman and stuff like that, people are more likely to stream snipe you and try to, you know, badly stream snipe you in a way, like, because there's ones of like stream sniping where it's like, oh, can I have a picture or whatever, and that's fine, right? But then there's the ones where, you know, as I said, like the Ginny situation, where there's a guy very clearly being aggressive or whatever, and he probably has some other motives other than, you know, wanting to get a picture, right? And I think that is something that maybe she should have been more wary of too, either getting someone to come with her on the journey, or just kind of being a lot more careful about, you know, where she's displaying you know, where she is. But that's kind of hard to do, especially if you're cycling through towns and stuff. So again, as I said, maybe just like, you know, have someone with you, because it can be a big issue, right? And I think that is why, you know, yeah, obviously IRL streaming can be very, very scary for some people, and why a lot of people don't like it, including obviously Chibi here, who doesn't like streaming. And she even acknowledges the fact that, you know, yeah, there is some good content, right? And as I said, there's people like iShowSpeed and stuff like that who do some really cool IRL content, whether it's like in different countries and things like that, which again is really, really cool. And it's cool to see him interact with that. And I feel like it is a lot different to your average IRL stream, because usually IRL streamers just kind of film their day or whatever and then have something fun that's going on during that, right? But I think Speed obviously has like a full-on production and everything behind it now at this point, which can, you know, feel a little bit different, right? But yeah, I mean, it's a good point made by Chibi there. I feel like, you know, she should have been banned permanently. I definitely think that it should have been the case. She says that Twitch isn't perfect, which again, I feel like, you know, yes, that is true. Not every site is going to be perfect, but I think it's not really a hard ask to ask for Twitch to ban her permanently, right? It's not like a completely impossible thing, because of course there is loads of, you know, different apps and websites and whatever, and maybe you want them to make a change, which they won't, because it takes too much coding or too much you know, just too much time, right, to do. But let's be real, permanently banning someone doesn't take up too much time or anything like that, so that should be easily done, but for some reason they still haven't done it yet. And of course, it just goes to show how terrible Twitch is in a place at the moment right now. But yeah, I mean, that is essentially all we have for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameSubs, use my code Kazo, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.